What's going on, everybody out there in YouTube land? I know it's been quite a while since I've been uploading some continuous things, but not to fear, because I am coming back with a vengeance. I'll get back to that in just a minute, but let's get you caught up on what's been happening. March may have been one of my biggest months that I've had to date. We are now pushing into April, the fourth month of 2018, and things are about to kick off. In March, I was able to finish putting together my 8th issue of my comic series. I never forgot. If you're new to this channel, my comic series I've been writing for the past 3 years basically follows a drifter wanting to accomplish one last goal before he can pass along happily. You can find the first 7 issues on Comixology, a buck a piece. You can also read to, I think it is issue 5, on my website. I'm hoping to have them on Tapas or Webtoon soon. That's all down the line, because right now I'm just focused on staying in the now and working on issue 9 right now.
Yes. Her face is like the best. Oh, that makes me so happy. That's amazing, dude.
I kicked off writing comics for this 100 Days Challenge, started by Kevin Cross back in 2015, if you can believe that. I did 200-day challenges back to back last year. A bunch of us from the hundreds came together and built a hundreds anthology, which I'm super stoked for. I think we're actually having them printed at the moment. I think we'll probably be seeing them by the end of April. Fingers crossed, because I'm pretty excited to see how those turned out actually. Coming up videos, we're gonna have Extremity Review. Now that the 12 issues done by Daniel Warren Johnson are all wrapped up, I'm gonna go dive into some of the issues, talk about the concepts that were explored with the whole comic series. Easily one of my favorite of last year, now wrapping up with the 12th issue. The series is nothing less than stellar. Dealing about an artist who loses their hand and tries to find a way to deal with life, but also is tied to this family situation and trying to deal with vengeance and revenge and all this other kinds of crazy wild ideas. So look forward to that. Also on my Patreon, I'm going to be throwing down an exclusive video for March. Their exclusive video is going to be me walking through the concept of the Punk Ultron pinup I did for my friend JoJo's book that they finally put together for my this last Kickstarter. She redid all the pages, all the art, all the colors for that, and we finally got it rocking and rolling. That will be coming with issue 8's Kickstarter and such. So look forward to that. I think April's exclusive Patreon video is going to be talking about issue 9 and how things came together and what is leading me forth in that chart. Had me put together my sketchbook from last year, basically chronicling all the sketches and drawings and little things along the way that basically put 2017 together. It started out as I was just going to do monthly take for my sketchbooks, the cream of the crop per se, for the sketches that I did in my sketchbooks and put those. I realized it was an uneven page count spread, so I wanted to get a couple more, and at that point, I wanted to get even more sketches shoehorned in. So that was an entire process. I will take you through that process right now because I will show you just how everything came together. It started when I was scanning everything in for issue 8. You can see now that all these sketches I had scanned in for the sketchbook, and then I later realized how I wanted to do it. So I took pages out from the sketchbooks, basically taped them on the back of Bristol boards, and then lined them up and put notes together describing what was happening each month, as well as what some of the thinking was behind some of the sketches. It really kicked off just about mid-year. I know August and September were pretty strong months because I was getting a handle on my sketches. September was big because I was doing 2 sketches a day and then transferring one of them to a marker sketch. So I had a ton of sketches from those 2 months, just because I was finding my footing and grounding and figuring out what all I wanted to do. So when I got all these months together, realized that I wanted a couple more pages. The only way I could figure out doing it was going big or going home. So what I did was I took a 2 by 3 foot pad of newsprint that I have laying around and basically tacked all these sketches on the back of this pad so I could scan it in chunks and then build the pages off of that, how I wanted them to look. I will throw pictures of me doing the covers up right now. That was a whole to do, because there were a lot of sketches that I wanted to share, but they didn't fit how I wanted the book to look, which I will now show you the first spread of the book. When you open it up, this will be basically 2 pages that were built from the newsprint sketches. And basically throwing all these little odds and ends together of things that happened through the year, giving it sort of a title page, and then going into the second spread. Which is basically showing the layout of how I wanted the book to look, because I wanted it very clean. I wanted a note section to show just how it was laid out, like everything that was happening each month. And then the best sketches, and even how some sketches evolved, like the Iron Man landing I did and then did for the anthology, which actually I used the page I colored from the anthology. I wanted to make sure that the sketchbook pages held more importance than the actual like marker sketches I had done. So I tried to keep the sketchbook pages actual size, and then I would smoosh down the actual sketches, just because I wanted to give importance to the sketchbook, because over the 365 days that were in 2017, the sketchbook had become so important, not only and crucial to improving my art from a distance, but the habit of drawing daily and making sure I stayed on top of that. The page count was sitting at 28. If you divide 28 by 4 page being a stapled page, you get 7. And I didn't like that odd number, so I wanted 2 more to get it to 30, and then 4 more. So you're getting inside covers, and then 4 more to get it to 8 spreads. So you're gonna find a amalgamation of sketches in the back. I think 4 pages worth of these collaged sketches, designs that I put together from all these sketches that I wanted to include but couldn't find ways for them to get in there. I'm also thinking about running a Kickstarter for the sketchbook. I think I'm going to have a proof coming with the proof for issue 8, so I'll keep you up to date on that. I'm also considering running the issue 9 Kickstarter along with the sketchbook. I think they can both do really well in helping propel each other forth. But if April goes how I hope I have it planned out to go, I will be done with issue 9 in time for it to print alongside issue 8. Won't have to worry about covering extra costs because it'll just be adding a little bit rather than a lot of it to its own separate printing. So I'll get to that in just a little bit. So back to working on issue 8. I had to build the sketchbook section, which is after the previews of issue 9. That turned it out to be a whole process because I wanted to talk about not only how the idea of Lucifer evolved from the beginning, why I paid him homage in this comic series. It is an actual thing that took place in my life. And then this idea of this pegboard memories of friends and stuff that is displayed in issue 8. Also using the reference pictures from that. It came together really nicely. I'm super proud of issue 8. I'm looking forward to getting that in people's hands, but if it takes another half a month to get them the next issue as well, I think that could be really cool. So, with all that being said, I also had done an Akira homage, which I will throw up a couple sketches of that. I really love how that came together. You'll have to wait for issue 8 to see just how it turned out and how awesome it looks. So I'll give you that. I did have some printer trouble. When I was working on scanning everything in, I was also working on building the sketchbook pages, but I couldn't print anything because my printer cartridges kept locking up and they weren't actual Epson printer cartridges, and that was a whole jumbled mess. Had to get some new ink cartridges so I could print stuff for the back of the sketchbook in issue 8. What a mess. I think it took a good 2-3 hours to get the whole thing cleaned up so I could actually print, and then I realized I had made a mistake myself. So I don't know how long it would have taken if I would have just done everything right from the get-go, but what a mess it became. Speaking of the scanning everything in, I have this little time lapse of working on getting everything scanned in from issue 8 and the sketchbook in one evening. I think this was across 6 hours, maybe. I think the whole thing ended up taking about 8 hours. My phone stopped recording because it ran out of power. Not only did it run out of power, but it was running out of space of this time lapse, but such a cool thing to see. You can see how tedious it is getting all this stuff scanned in, but it's a hell of a lot better working with the big printer rather than having to stitch every single page of Bristol back together like I would have to do. I think basically from issue 7 down. I think issue 8 is the first issue that I'm actually able to scan a piece of Bristol by itself. I was able to do it for the anthology project, but that's basically it. So back to that. I set up in a bar a couple evenings. Did it for St. Patty's Day and the third jam night. Had some good sales on both nights, even to the point where I took a few original paintings with me. I will throw in some of those delightful sounds from the entirety of the evening between these sections as well. That'd be a cool thing to do. Just recorded a couple of them. They did Lowered Royals. Yeah, I think that's the song. And then a couple other ones that were just fun. The St. Patty's Day was actually for a band show. I was set up with a merch table, so that was cool. I am running very low on my prints of my like Dracula and Frankenstein and something, so I'm going to have to be kicking in for an inventory redistribution. It was also cool to see people needing art and realizing that they weren't just paying for a piece of art, but for something that took time and something that was not just a thrown together generic thing, but an actual like sketch or a print that took time to do the original painting of. From the February sketchbook, you see me going from the red pencil to blue pencil. I think it's very much more clear what I'm doing. You can see it a lot better in March's sketchbook, coming soon to Patreon. It should be in the next few days. Working with my brush pen, trying to get details and everything done up so I can make those groovy details show up a lot better on my rig. Also did a bunch of new marker sketches since I was going to be at the bar a couple nights. I realized my sketchbook was getting a little thin, so I decided to do a few new ones. You have the Thanos one where he's playing with his Iron Man and Captain America dolls. I thought that was a lot of fun revisiting Thanos again for the first time in like 3 years. I did a couple sketches of him for friends. I even did a painting. I will throw a few of them up in the corner as well. Did some Iron Maiden, Eddie, Red, White, and Blue, um, Black Panther, La La Land, It, and then even pulled some of the Shecember sketches that I did uh, in my actual Copic notebook. Most notably, Makana Terror and Alice X. For a couple of those, I'm excited to see if those actually sell, but we'll see. Um, and then it all culminated with this idea of friends and like helping each other propel the next one to even greater things. Like when I had finished packing up all my stuff for St. Patty's Day and was heading out the door, a few of my other friends showed up and we got caught up what was happening in each other's lives. And I realized that every time we had gotten together, it had been a great time because they're not only great human beings, but they help me work on being a better myself. Um, and very few people are able to do that. I seriously suggest if you have people like that in your life, let them know because that's an amazing thing to have. It felt very King Arthur-esque where I had found these great people to surround myself with, and we had become greater than our sums, and like it was an awestruck moment. There's a couple other new videos you should be looking forward to. Gaz did his March Robots series. I'll throw some links to his channel. Check out those videos. He was trying out some new concept stuff. Some of that stuff looked really cool. It's always cool seeing him try new things. Mike Emirates is coming back to YouTube with a new comic series discussing printer options and how to get your comics printed because he's run into some real headaches getting the anthology done up and finished. So look forward to that series. Kevin Cross is bringing his 5th season of his 100 Days to YouTube. I think he's given it about a month or two breather between videos and YouTube. So if you want to see the most recent ones, I highly suggest checking him out on Patreon, throwing a few bucks his way. Check out those videos for early. Jeff Lafferty's back with some great videos. And then most notably, Joshua Kemble is winding down his 100 days. Marshall Couture is winding down his 100 days. Jan is about in the midway of his, and his videos are fascinating because I'm excited to see Phosphor as it has evolved over these last couple years. If you are paying attention to my comics, if you've donated to my Kickstarter, I believe it was the 6th issue that I went ahead and printed his first 10 to 12 pages for his Phosphor comic. Did it for a thank you and surprise for Christmas, whatnot. Got that all printed up myself, sent it out to all backers and whatnot, and then when he received his package, it was awesome. So I've decided to go ahead and push for his story to get done too. A lot of his last pages for his first issue look incredible. They remind me so much of Daniel Warren Johnson's art from Extremity. That loose style, but also has so much life in the lines because he cares so deeply about this comic itself. He's enjoying where the story's going. Like you can see that in all his lines and whatnot, and he's building this incredible world. And to tie that together with Gaz again, these two are inspiring me so much because when Horror A4 issue 2 came, I had seen how much detail Gaz had packed into every panel. I watched him build this issue and all the stuff that he had gotten in there and realized like that was his aesthetic. Like, he gets so much information as well as all his dialogue progressing the story, and I'm excited to see how the third issue is coming together because I'm so invested in the story now. But seeing his art and Jan's art, it's incredible to see how much detail they can both get into a single page. Where I was thinking about this with my own issues is they are able to pull back the camera. Like, I'm most of my panels are like this, and I have about a mid shot of Zeke more than likely talking, um, or it'll pull back to about 3/4 of body shot. But with Jan and with Gaz, they are pulling back the camera even further, getting multiple bodies in the shots. And that's something that I realized was done well in Watchmen. We just finished up Watchmen Club for Comic Book Girl 19's club she did on Twitch, basically breaking down the issues, talking about symbolism and whatnot. But the really cool thing was this 9 panel grid. I always thought it was kind of easy and cheap and didn't necessarily like the aesthetic, but I realized he had done it to challenge himself. With these first 8 issues, it's always been my layout and how I want it to look. But with the 8th issue, I'll shed some light. If you want to see some more detail, I think the exclusive video on Patreon for February talks about me breaking down some of this detail work. But you can see how I thumbnailed, and then I went back and did the layout pages. This worked well, but it was kind of stunting how I wanted to tell a story. So I decided to challenge myself, and I need to get back to work on issue 9. I think everything is pretty much well wrapped up for all my other projects right now, so there is no time like the present. April, I will be offline. I have deleted Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram off of my phone, so I won't be there for the entirety of the months through April because I want to get back to work on my comic series and issue 9. Because issue 9 is not only outlined, but it is also all laid out. And much like Watchmen, it is heavily influenced by a 9-panel grid. I will talk more about that in the exclusive video for Patreon in April. So if you're looking forward to something like that, definitely look forward to that. But it was wild when it came together because this last Artcasters, I had started talking to Abe early in the chat, and it was like, yeah, I'm kind of kicking around this idea of taking April off and working just strictly on issue 9. Mike Emirates is planning on going hardcore mode, speaking of Gaz again, and doing this life of a comic illustrator for a week straight, putting in the time, 8 to 9 hours a day. And I was like, yeah, I need that as well. So over the course of the Artcasters episode, I was able to get the outline done. And then this last Friday, I was working on something else, and was like, you know what? I think I could lay out the pages and see where I'm going with that. So I think it took like 2-3 hours to lay out the pages for the for the entirety of issue 9. I'm going to go back, tweak some details, figure what I can cut. Right now it's sitting at 28 pages. I don't want it to be that long, but also if it needs to be that long, I'm perfectly fine with it being that long. So I'm going to see if I can't trim some of that off, but for sure, issue 9 is coming together easier than any other issue I've done before. As far as thumbnails are concerned, I showed them off, but I haven't necessarily drawn out anything, but I have done the layout and details of what I want in those panels. So April is it. I'm not necessarily kicking off a 100-day challenge because I know I can get issue 9 finished in the span of this 100 days. What I am challenging myself is to see how many days it takes to get done with issue 9. And this is putting in full day's work. Like, this is going to be 12, 14 hours of work, passing out, getting up and doing the whole thing over again. Like, I want to get done with issue 9 in the month of April. I want to jump back on social media in May and be like, hey, guess who finished issue 9? And it's so ready for your consumption. So let's do a Kickstarter. Let's kick this all off. And let's just get after it. I'm going to be recording a clip of me every day, basically cataloging what I did, how long it took me to do this stuff. I think you're probably going to get a look at pages and the penciling stages. I don't want to give too much away, especially with not having issue 8 out there. I don't want people to get confused. So probably when I start inking, I probably won't be showing anything more. But you never know. I might be persuaded to show some stuff. But I'm basically going to be cataloging every day, saying what I've been working on, how long I've been working on, how long it took to do such things. I'm also going to be painting the covers, inking, coloring, all that stuff. So we are challenging myself with the 9-panel grid. I am going to be challenging myself with the better lettering for this issue. And I'm super stoked to wrap up this last issue of the love arc so we can get to the respect arc. Yes, the respect arc. You heard it here secondly. I think I mentioned it on Twitter before I logged off for the last time of March. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to those last 4 issues and to show how much this whole story has evolved from its inception near the end, so I can show you just how much of myself went into this whole story, which started off to being a really actually pretty simple story, straightforward talk. Like, it blows my mind how much it's evolved over the course of these last 3 years and the evolution each issue has taken to build towards that final couple of issues. So that's what I'm going to say for now. You can look forward to, I think I'm going to do a weekly video for these 100-day challenge, talking about how much work is going into these issues. But I'm going to work on this issue as much as I can for daily until it's done, until I send it off to the printer. You'll see various stages of me scanning stuff in, various stages of me building the PDFs to send to my printer. Like, I'll do that tedious stuff so you can also see what all goes into this whole making comic process. But look forward to that. Throwing links down below to all the awesome creators that I'm working, that are inspiring me. And because I'm in such a good place that I'm able to do this, I think people get started with these 100-day challenges and don't realize how much work goes into it. So I really want to showcase what it takes from start to finish from somebody that has the availability and time to work purely on this. If some commissions come up, I will take them. Not necessarily put them on the back burner, but if I can, I will solely focus on doing my comic work. I'm not going to be on the social media like I said earlier, but I will be posting here in Patreon. So if you're a subscriber, check that out. Some of the stuff on Patreon will be open to public, but more than likely, most of it's going to be Patreon exclusive. So look forward to that. I'm also going to be throwing some sketchbook videos up weekly, talking about what I was working on, because I have a back catalog that I want to get through and showing off the sketches that I've been doing this year. If you check out my Patreon, I just made public the January and February sketchbook spreads, which basically show all the sketchbook drawings I did for both months. You can also if you from the post is linked the Dropbox of them, so you can download the whole picture, blow it up, look at the different pictures. But if you have seen the sketchbook videos, you can see all the work that has gone into making all these sketches. I was very diligent in March, and I think I only missed one day for recording the daily sketches. So looking forward to that sketchbook putting together. But yeah, it's been a wild trip so far, and April's only going to get even better. So until next time, in a few days probably, I will catch you later. Check out all the links below to the awesome creators doing 100-day challenges and making their own comics. And I hope you check me out on Patreon. Look forward to those Patreon exclusives. And yeah, I'll check in with you next time.